On our latest episode, we welcome professional footballer Adam Dawson, who talks to us openly about his career to date and the struggles he has faced along the way. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also look out for us on our other social media channels. Good evening, Adam. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us today, mate. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just got back from doing a little shopping trip, so I've just been getting all the groceries in and all the food in. So it's been a good day today. Sun's been all right. So I had the little one's birthday yesterday as well. So we're just trying to stay active with the little one and make her have a good day. So yeah, no, it's been quite good, quite productive. So
I was
all good.
about to ask, how are you and the family during lockdown? It sounds like you've got yourself your hands full.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's been good because you get to spend that time that you don't really get to spend. So it's a bit hard, obviously, trying to keep the little one entertained all the time because 100 mile an hour on your feet. But it's been good. We have been going for little walks and stuff like that, and trying to go out as much as we can, but obviously doing things properly. And it's just been it's been good to spend time, with the family, and Mrs. is working from home as well, so kind of all together. So no, it's been good. It's been all right.
Good stuff, buddy. Just for those who may not be aware, can you just give us a little bit of an insight into your current playing situation and what it is you do?
So I'm at Macclesfield at the minute. It's been a bit of a mad couple of months, obviously, with everything that's been going on. I've had a tough ride, I'd probably say, at Macclesfield, to be honest, since I signed last January. It was. I was at Telford, Chester, and then I signed from Macclesfield, and then I couldn't play for Macclesfield for 6 months because it was obviously the third club rule, which I didn't know anything about, obviously, coming from a non-league side, and I didn't think that mattered because you can play for as many non-league clubs as you want. And obviously then I was tied down for 6 months. And then I got offered a new deal in the summer, signed that, and then they had an embargo put on them. So then there was about 3 or 4 of us who couldn't play until, the owner had obviously paid the outstanding debt or whatever. So I've had a bit of a tough run. Mentally, I've probably been in, I'll be honest with you. Had a tough time, had a really tough time. Really tough. So going through all that, as much as I tried to stay kind of heads on it, it was just a really struggle. We wasn't getting paid on time. We was going months, was getting paid late. We weren't getting paid full wages, and it was just such a difficult time. And to be honest, probably, this situation has probably made me just sit back. It's kind of like where the world is just kind of froze. Everyone's doing the same thing, so there's no pressure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of opened my eyes in a sense of where I want to go, what I want to do. And it's given me the chance to kind of sort myself out mentally and sort myself out because I was in a bit of a dark place. I was struggling a lot, and I started seeing a counsellor and stuff like that, and it helped me out loads. And now I'm in a position where I'm just focused, I'm looking forward rather than worrying about what's happening. Kind of got myself sorted, and now I'm on a good track to go into whatever happens now in football, and see how long it takes to get back going and if the season's going to finish. So it's kind of just good to have this time. I know it's a horrible time, but for myself, it's been a good time because I can just sit back and just evaluate, if that's how you say it. Not so clever with words. Yeah, with just basically just sit back, look at everything in a different perspective, and just kind of gather my head in a sense. And it's been good for me. Obviously, it's not been good for other people, but for me, it's just been a good eye-opener time to just take a step back, think about things, and see where we go from there. So
it's good. You're in a good place.
Yeah.
Now, say, with the environment that's going on, it could be having a negative effect. But I think, myself included, time and other guests that we spoke to, spend time with the kids and the family that you may not see because of the hectic lanes of life. And it is good to hear that you're sort of in a good place.
Yeah,
with mate.
Yeah, no, it was just tough. I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to get into trouble. But to be honest, my contract's up anyway, and I can't, But it's just hard. Can't really say certain things. But from where I was and where I went to, I was expected to go and push on now, get back going, I've had all these clubs, and this wasn't my fault. This whole situation at Macclesfield wasn't my fault. It was nothing to do with me as a person, as an attitude, nothing to do with that, because I grinded through the first 6 months, you know, and thought, right, let's just earn a deal through training and doing things, because I can't play, I can't go out on loan. So for 6 months, I've got to sit here and just basically graft to earn something for next year. So I kind of just grafted and grafted and grafted, and I got what I deserved. And then in the summer, signed again. And then, you know, other problems affecting me. So embargoes, and obviously everyone knows Macclesfield struggle financially paying players. And, you know, it's just been really tough because I accumulated a lot of debt. So I was, you know, over my head with everything. I had to end up going bankrupt because they wasn't paying us on time and stuff like that. You know, so I needed to speak. It's a good opportunity for me to speak to you because I've not spoke about anything, not spoke about what my mental state was. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think it's good to just get it out there because there's a lot of questions above me as well. Why is he not played? Why is he not played? Why is he not played? He's been there for, you know, 15 months and he's not kicked a game, you know, and a lot of the things are just out of my control, but people don't see that from the outside. So the stuff I've been going through from what has not been in my control, you know, has put me through a bit of a dark time. But, you know, if anything, I see it as a good thing because it's kind of just made me think about things a lot more, just mature into situations of how to deal with, you know, certain things. And it's just kind of, if anything, it sounds mad, but it's kind of, it made me hit rock bottom, which I kind of needed because of where I'd been at in the last few years. And because I hit rock bottom, I went through, you know, really mental tough time. But because I hit rock bottom, there was only one way to go and it was up. So I had to sort myself out. So as soon as I hit rock bottom, you know, it just helped me so much. And now I'm just so positive, driven into what I'm doing with setting up, you know, my contents page on Instagram, my skill tech stuff and all that stuff and what I want to do with that as a brand and as a coaching platform. And I'm eager just to kind of go and do what I want to do nowadays. So I'm just really looking forward to, you know, this whole pandemic closing off and we can get back outside and do stuff. So it's been a bad journey, but it's turned out good in a sense. So I'm on the up.
Well, I mean, I can certainly empathise with you about the situation at Macclesfield. You know, those who know me know I spent 9 months there and sort of with the youth sides. But it was certainly frustrating not knowing if and when you were going to get paid. And, you know, I think the less we sort of speak about that, the better in terms of...
if you want, I think like you said, you're just going to record it anyway. So whatever you want to put in, you know, you use it as you want. So it's all good like that. Don't worry about, you know, not putting stuff in. I'm fine with whatever you want to put out. So.
No, appreciate that. Let's go back to the bit of positive time then. Let's go back to the start of the football career. When did you realise there was interest in you and you might have a real chance of being signed as a professional footballer?
I think when I was about 9 or 10, I was just playing at Seedfield, which is a local, like, you know, normal side by mine. And I always had a few calls from scouts and stuff like that. But it was my best friend's dad who was the manager of the team. Okay. And he always said to me, you don't want to go too young, don't go too young. So I just kept playing till I was about 12, maybe 11, 12. Another couple of years. And then I had trials everywhere. And I ended up, because I live near Gig Lane, I've always grew up, you know, watching Bury and supporting Bury. Mm-hmm. And I got offered to go to Bury and trial at Bury at like 11, 12. So I took that opportunity, got a contract there. And then it kind of just went on from there, really. Started doing well at Bury. And then at 14, 15, you know, I remember, you might have the question. I think you might have the question. So I don't know how you want me to go on with it. So.
Roll with it. I mean, obviously, the question I got, you joined Liverpool for a reported £100,000 fee at 14 and turned down Man City. What was the decision to go to Liverpool over Man City?
Do you know what? I'm a City fan as well, so it's a bit bizarre. But I think just the whole situation, because I'll come home from school one day and my mum sat me down on my team. She went, "You're not going training tonight." And she kind of tripped me. She was like, "You're not going training tonight." And I was obviously like, why am I? I'm sat there eating my pasta thinking I'm going to training. Said, "Oh no, you've got to go to the club because you've got to have a meeting." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then straight away I'm thinking I'm getting released. I'm panicking. I'm thinking I'm 14. I'm thinking, "Oh, they're gonna get rid of me." And I remember I went. It was went there, sat in an office with was it Ryan Kidd? Ryan Kidd, I think it was, who
Right.
used to be at Bury. Yeah, Ryan Kidd is it? And they basically just got sat down and got told that like 6 clubs had come in for me. And they'd all like fighting to kind of take me off and basically give me advice of what I should do, where do I want to go and stuff like that. And there were 6 clubs, and I can't remember all 6 clubs, but there was Celtic, United, Liverpool, City, Blackburn, Bolton,
Wow.
and there might have been someone else. And he just basically told me to narrow it down to 3 clubs and obviously not make a decision of where I want to go. Why didn't I go to each one for a week? So then I ended up just going to each club for a week.
Okay.
I went to United first, and there were Pogba there, Jesse Lingard, Ravel Morris, and all them there. And then the week after that, I went to City, and I was so I went to City, and I loved it. I loved it. I went there, and they was trying to make me sign straight after that week, and they wanted me to go to a night tournament, like the night tournament they had coming up at the weekend. So they wanted me to go to that, and I was like, "Mum, I wanna sign for City. I wanna sign for City. I wanna sign for City." And then on the way home from training, I was telling my mum to tell Liverpool that I didn't want to go to Liverpool on Monday because I wanted to play at this night cup for City on the weekend, and I want to sign for City. And Malcolm Elias at the time, I'm not sure where he is now, but he moved to Fulham after I went to Liverpool, and my mum had texted him to say, look, he kind of wants to go to City. And Malcolm rang my mum whilst I was on the way home, and he was speaking to me and to my mum, and he was just basically saying, look, just come. And I was like, so head on, like I wanted to go to City.
Yeah.
And I went to Liverpool, and I'm not being funny, it was probably the best week one of the best experiences I've probably ever had, to be honest. It was so good. Like they brought in a load of other lads. It's like they're doing a trial thing, so they're bringing all these foreign players and all the best players from down south. And I was kind of just going to see how it was. I wasn't on trial. I was just going in with that mix to see how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then after that, I just ended up signing at Liverpool. But I was so head on signing at City. And obviously, I went there for a week, and then that's kind of how that came about, really, just signing at Liverpool after that week.
So age 14, 15, a reported fee for you at that age. Did you feel any pressure as a kid almost to succeed?
Well, I didn't really know how much it was until obviously a few years after.
Yeah.
I never knew. And it was kind of, I knew I'd gone for something, but the expectation wasn't, as a kid going from Bury to Liverpool, you kind of just think like the world's like just changed. You go in there and you can smell the smell of an academy compared to going into Bury. Like, I know it sounds mad, but there's a smell, like the same at United and at City. There's like this, it's a weird smell, but you know it's like a big, it's like a big club. It's weird. I always smell it. It's weird. And it was just going into them places where it was just like you felt you belonged there because they made me feel like that. So going there, it just felt so good, and I just didn't really bother about what had happened. I was just so buzzing that I'd signed for Liverpool, and I was just so excited to crack on going. But it was a few months after I'd signed for the club for Liverpool where it got a bit difficult because I've never really known my father. He's only popped in and out of my life like that since when I was 18. But before this, I'd never met him. And taking me away from home, obviously, and putting me up, taking me out of school, taking me away from my friends at such a young age. And I've always struggled with that because it's just been my mum and my sisters at home. So I didn't expect that when I'd signed, but then after, a few months of travelling and commuting, they decided they wanted to put me up, and it was hard on my mum travelling up there all the time. And I think everything just got a bit too much for me. And then obviously 15, 16, that's when I started to feel the expectation of things because I was the only one at 15 going in with the youth team full time every day, being taken away out of school. And I started to just feel, because obviously I was always small, so I felt a bit unphysical and stuff like that, and it just dawned on me a bit. And then being away from home affected me massively. And I think if you look at my career and how many clubs I've had, I think that had a massive part on, on me as a person going into the future, of how much the expectations levels were for me in the end to progress through them ranks from being sold from Bury and that much money at a young age. I think it did affect me in the long run.
I mean, just from your personal experiences, obviously, would you say at 15, 16 there's too much pressure to make it? I mean, like, look at that experience there. 15, 16 moved away.
I don't think they don't prepare you to. The problem is that they don't prepare you for when you fall off or when you don't make the grade. Okay. So they give you everything: sponsorship deals, boot deals. You're going to be the next big thing. They blow you up to be this next big thing, and everyone's looking at you like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And then when they drop you, it's kind of like you pick yourself up now on your own. There's no. Well, that's what I experienced, but I still hear from a lot of other, kids who've been at big clubs and they experience it now. And I just don't feel like, obviously, they prepare you for what might happen. They just want to get your pen to paper. You're the biggest kid and you're the best thing at that age, so they want you under the books. But then, as soon as a few years have gone by, or you're not making the grade for whatever reasons, they just kind of just drop you to pick yourself up. And I think at that age it's so important, because you don't know how to deal with it. And I think that's where a lot of lads don't go back into football, even though they should keep being persistent at it and drop a few levels, go to a Macclesfield youth team, Bury youth team, sort of things like that, and go somewhere like that. But I think it affects them that much, and the people around them say, oh, he got released from Liverpool or City. It kind of affects you a lot in that sense. Yeah. So I think that's why a lot of the players do go out of the game, because they haven't got the platform to fall onto when they do get dropped, in a sense.
Yeah.
And they need the support in terms of mentally, like how do you recover from that, and how do you plan on making steps to bounce back from that? Because at 16 years old, it's all you want to do is play football. It's your world, and everyone thinks they're going to be the next Ronaldo and be the next Messi. But when it hits you as if to say you're not going to be, or one opinion says you're not going to be that person, at 15 and 16, it will affect you massively. It will. And I just think there just needs to be a platform of something when they do fall off or they don't make the grade for whatever reason. They're not big enough, strong enough, which is pathetic. But they just need that guidance to help them get back on their feet and keep going at it, keep being persistent at it.
Yeah, I think, again, it's just my personal opinion. I think when the term not big enough or strong enough is bandied about, and I don't know if you saw it recently about Tyrone Mings, he was really...
that's why I said that then, I think, because I was reading that the other day, to be fair.
Yeah, released by Southampton, I think, for not being big enough, and then currently 6'3", is it something like that at Villa now?
That's what I mean. It's mental, but they invest so much, don't they? So
yeah, again, there's a lot put into, as you say, the next big thing, and that player to get him under the boots. And I do think a little bit of care needs to come, and afterwards, and the move back to Bury, that followed before release at the end of the scholarships. How are you feeling at that time after the early potential at Liverpool to then find yourself released and going into Bury?
That's the maddest thing, because when I went, it was literally because we went. I was there for 2 years, and I'd been so taken away from home. We went, and then in that summer, the second season I was at, in that summer we didn't really have a break, so I couldn't really go home. Then when the season had finished, we ended up going over to Villarreal and Tenerife to play 2 tournaments. So it was Rodolfo Borrell as well, who was our manager at the time, who was obviously assistant to Pep. And we went over there. We won both tournaments. It was unbelievable. But then when I came back and the season was going into pre-season and into starting, obviously I had not really much time at home, and I wanted to be at home. And so what we arranged is that I'd go back to Bury and train with Bury for a week, because it's on my doorstep, and I could basically go back to Liverpool after that. So anyway, I do one training session with the youth team at Bury, and then they've got a game against Accrington day after. So obviously I'm going to play in that because I'm with Bury for a week just to be at home and stay fit. And Alan Nell and Chris Brass come down, and I played in this game, had a really good game. And then after that game, they basically said that they wanted to put me up with the first team for the rest of that week. And then obviously me being a Bury lad and being a local lad and all my mates going to Gig Lane to watch Bury every week and me training with the first team, the team I grew up watching and stuff like that, it was massive for me at 16 years old. And to be on, and was getting put on the bench on the Saturday for the first team. So it kind of all happened in the space of a week. I was only supposed to go home, and just train with the youth team and then go back to Liverpool. But then I was training with the first team from Wednesday onwards. And then I was on the bench on the Saturday. And then I kind of said I wanted to stay a bit extra. So I ended up staying at Bury for literally another week because it was like it was just turning, going into my first year YT. So it was that sort of time in pre-season and into the season. And I ended up just saying I wanted to stay at Bury. And Alan Nell was put me on bench. I was on the bench all that season with Bury, and I was all in 16, 17. And it was just massive for me at that age. It was just a big thing for me. And then, so obviously I ended up saying to Liverpool that moving away from home was affecting me massively, which it was. And I was so happy just being with the first team environment at Bury and, kind of being looked upon in the area I come from. And I'm that age and I'm involved with my local club. It was just big for me. And then the second season, obviously I had time for Bury that season. I got out on my Liverpool contract, and rather than signing a YT there, I ended up taking it on at Bury. And then that first year I was on bench all year for Bury. And then second season I just got dropped like an axe. I come back pre-season, second year YT, I was back in the youth team dressing room. I was putting goalposts up. I don't get me wrong, I know that's what you do. But I'd swap that because of what I had at Bury. That time I spent at Bury, I kind of thought that this is what I want. Doing this with first team is going to propel me more than playing in, first year YT team at Liverpool and stuff like that. And I kind of just got dropped. I got hit with an axe and just basically dropped. And I kind of just hit rock bottom. I just went under. I couldn't physically take it. I couldn't physically take going from Liverpool where you get there in the morning, you got your breakfast, everything is just so, you looked after so much. Mm-hmm. And then going to Bury and being put with the youth team and just being basically carrying goalposts down Gig Lane Road. I remember it, carrying them from Gig Lane, carrying them all the way down to Lower Gig where the first team trained. Had to put all their stuff up, carry all the cones, the balls, everything, post, pin them all up, set it all up. And then where we train, we'd have to run from where we train about a mile or 2 miles away, train there. But then we had to train and get back for when the first team had finished, so all the equipment wasn't left on its own while they all walk up to the ground to get changed. So you can imagine me going from that at Liverpool to doing that after a first year of being on the bench for the first team and being promised this and everything and all this lot by, the gaffer and stuff like that. And then just basically being dropped into that, it just crushed me. Like, it crushed me. I went off the rail. I literally went off the rail. And then somehow, I don't know how I've done it. I've done it throughout all the clubs I've had. Somehow I was still playing in the youth team and still standing out, still doing well, because obviously I dropped from a level to play at that level. And then I got offered a contract at Wigan when they was in Premier League. Obviously it was with the going into like their YT reserve sort of thing. Sorry, no, going into their reserves because I'd just finished my second year scholar. And it was under Roberto Martinez, and I kind of just went in there and I just felt the same thing I did at Liverpool. Like, this is where I feel I should be. This is it. Going in, everything's set up, everything's there for you. You can do extra. You can use the gym. You can do what you want. And I done really well my first year. I got offered another year, and I went on loan to Accrington. Had a spell there, and then kind of just, I've had that many clubs. I don't even know where I went after that. I think I ended up out of football after that.
Yeah.
I think I went to somewhere like Nelson, who was like last level of semi-professional. I think it was.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that I'd sort of picked up was the contract was mutually terminated at Wigan.
Yeah.
And later admitted it was a mistake. The question I was going to ask is, what were you going through at that time of your career to make such a big decision to say, do you know what, cancel it, I'm coming out of Wigan?
I think because I remember signing that second year at Wigan when I got offered the second year contract at Wigan. I went to DW Stadium and actually sat in an office with Graham Barrow and Roberto Martinez, and they put me on, basically it was like a rolling contract for a month or so like that. And it was literally just because of, looking back now and me sorting myself out, I was never right there mentally because of everything that had happened. It had affected me so much. But until seeing a counsellor recently and hitting rock bottom, and the cycle of clubs that I've had where I've gone from lowest platform in English football and then jumping straight back up to a Leicester or whatever, I've been in that cycle where I've been there, drop down, jump straight back to the top, drop down. It's happened 3 times. And it's the same cycle. And I think it's just because of everything that happened at such a young age affected me. And I didn't realise it was, I didn't realise that mentally I was kind of just, I wouldn't say not all there, but just couldn't cope with certain things, like I just couldn't cope with things because of where I'd been and what I had. And then mentally, I just couldn't can't really explain it properly, but I just couldn't, looking back, I just couldn't think of how to deal with things. I wasn't prepared for everything that happened so fast at a young age and moving away from home. And, my dad popping into my life at 18 years old when all this was going on at Bury and stuff like that, after not seeing him and stuff like that. It just kind of just messed me up completely. And, people don't see why I've had this sort of chapters of football clubs. But I've actually, looking back, like I've had so many like downfalls where things have affected me, but at the time I've not, understood what's been affecting me. I've not realised why I'm feeling some type of way. And obviously over time, I might have been like a ticking time bomb and saying the wrong thing because mentally I wasn't in a good place, but without realising that. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of that, just the support mechanisms from the clubs you were with weren't there.
Exactly. And I was too scared. And this is what I was saying to me. I was too scared to speak about my problems. And I think that now is something that I'd love to speak out about because, in a sense, even though I was going through all that stuff at Macclesfield and going through everything that I've went through, and every manager that's always said in pre-season when he gathers his new players and goes, don't be scared to knock on my door, speak to me about anything. Now, every player has always thought, well, if I go and speak to him about a certain thing, is he going to drop me because he thinks mentally that I'm not prepared to play because obviously there's something else on my mind?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is. So I think growing up and going through all the problems that I've had and all the crap I've had to deal with, me personally has just been too afraid to go in because football was my escapism as to get away from everything, like everything that was going on. Going into training and playing football was my release to just kind of forget about everything. And I think knocking on a door, that had only made me feel worse because I was too scared to think, right, am I going to get dropped? Am I not going to play? Am I going to be left out because of what I've just told him, And all that over all these years has kind of just hit me to a point, like for the last 18 months where I've hit it and just been like, I don't care no more. Like I'm clean, I'm good now, like I'm good. So now moving on, I'm positive. But that's the effect of, like you said, the mechanisms and the support of, people trying to speak about things and going to managers and stuff like that. They say it's there, but is it a trick question? Do you know what I mean? Is it a trick question? And that's, you never know. And that's why I don't think people speak about the problems enough because they're too scared to let it affect what's going on the pitch and if they're going to play or not. I think that's a massive factor.
I completely agree. There's been a massive uprise in a lot of high-end professionals and many good people within the game stating that, we shouldn't treat footballers as footballers. We should treat them as people who play football. And we don't know, what's inside somebody's head. So we need to understand and help. And I think, I don't want to speak down, but it seems that those support mechanisms weren't there for you at a younger age, and everything that you're experiencing
Massively.
help,
And that's what's affected me and my career, because I know I've got a lot of ability with a football and can do most things with a football. But I think from a young age, if I was put, guided in the right direction in terms of how to deal with things emotionally,
Yeah.
I think I'd have gone on and done, I'm not saying I'd be the best player in the world, but I wouldn't have had all the clubs I've had, and I think I'd have been more stable as a player and as a person. But now, over them years, it looks like when everything's got tough, or when I've not been picked to play, or certain things like that, it got to me, and it affected me at home, because obviously football was my escapism. So if I wasn't playing, I was just getting eaten up and eaten up and eaten up, and then I was only going to tick and say something that I didn't mean. I was just I couldn't control how I felt, because emotionally I didn't know how to channel them emotions, because I never had that guidance. So I think that's a massive factor in football, and no matter how long football goes on, that'll always be in the back of someone's in the player's mind, because everyone goes through stuff. I'm not saying everyone goes through problems, but going into a gaffer's door and saying I've got problems, every football player on this planet is always nervous to walk in and say, yeah, I'm struggling with this at home, I'm struggling with that at home, blah, 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 because they will think it will affect them.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anyone says, that is in every player's mind. If they've got something struggling, they don't want nobody to know about it, because they just want to be able to express themselves on the pitch and do it that way. And saying something or going and speaking to someone about it, you just feel like it might stop you from playing, or get looked upon different, like you're not mentally prepared to play in that sort of sense. So that's probably why, like I said, that's definitely why I've had that so many clubs and being bounced up and down. And it's only been the last 5 months where I've kind of realised that I needed help all along, and it's been the best thing I've done, is speaking to someone.
No, I mean, look, my story is completely different in terms of I served 12 years in the army and came up this world of civilian and unregimented and no routine, and it took me possibly 3.5 years and the loss of my mum to even admit I was struggling. And and anything I'll advise to anybody now is that speak. It's been the best thing I've done. Speaking to a professional who can help me understand what's going on in this head of mine.
And you know what? It's crazy, because the first session I remember driving to my first counselling session, and I was like, how is speaking to someone going to help? Like, how, do you know what I mean? Like, how is it going to help? And then the first session, you walk away like, I only spoke to him. But then after the second, third, fourth, and fifth, you just start doing things at home. And when things are happening around you at home, you start switching your mindset. Not you, because you spoke to someone about it. It kind of, you switch that way, like without even knowing, and you start handling things different, and you start thinking more clearer. And that's what's helped me so much. Just helped me so much. And you know what? I still speak to my counsellor now, and I'm still gonna keep speaking to him, because one massive factor that my sister told me, she emigrated to Australia. She's older than me. She never had mental health problems or anything like that. But in Australia, it's a thing that you should do. You should have a counsellor, not for marriage, just for yourself. Like it's a normal thing to do, to just go and speak about daily life. Like they pay to just go and speak to people about daily life, because they feel it's healthy for them to just go and speak to people and get things off the chest and deal with things. And she was saying to me, like, everyone does it over here. But over here, it's kind of like, if you've got a counsellor, you kind of, he's got problems. But over in Australia, she's saying it's just a routine for them. Like, that's what they do over there, just to help them and feel better about themselves. And they do it normally. Like, it's a thing they just do over there.
I think there's that
and it just helps.
Yeah, and perception that you're weak if you don't. Well, you're weak if you speak, and I'd say you're the opposite if you're able to speak about what's going on inside your mind, you're very strong and able to, own up and identify that there's ways to be working around it.
100%, 100%. So, but yeah, there definitely needs to be. I know the PFA and that are trying the best to help. Like they're doing really good campaigns with mental health and stuff like that. So, and to be fair, they have helped me so much, the PFA. They've set me up with everything that I've needed to, set up with my coaching and my business plan and stuff like that. They've given me guidance with that. They've set me up with everything. They paid for all my counselling sessions. They literally, without them, like I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am now. Like they rang me out the blue, more than the football club did, to just ask me if I was all right, how am I coping, how am I doing. Like I couldn't thank them enough. Like they've just been like, if any, like the PFA are there for everyone. Yeah. And as much as people just think it's just a side thing that's attached to football.
It's great to hear that the support is there for you. And you're in a good place. It's really positive to hear that. I mean, just going back to your career to date, you mentioned we came out of Wigan, but there was a very quick return to football in the North West Counties with back at Borough. How did that come about? And was it just to maybe reignite a love for the game?
Yeah, I just kind of just went out of football, and then my mate was playing for that team. So I just went down training on a Tuesday, Thursday night or whatever it was. Yeah. Ended up just wanting to play football games, so I ended up just signing there. And then I think, was it after Bake Up I went, where did I go? I don't even know myself, to be honest.
I can say it was only a short time there, because from records that I've seen, FC United, I saw your talent and took you on before Barrow came in.
So that's what I'm saying. I went from so I went from Bake Up to Nelson, and then from Nelson, I played about 3 or 4 games, or maybe a few more. Went to FC United under Margie, and then after that, I went about literally a month there. I went to Barrow, and then it was the season they actually got relegated from the National League. Yeah. But I was doing so well in a team that was struggling, and then obviously, I got interest from Dundee and Leicester. And when I went up to Dundee, I got interest from Leicester was later on. I went to Dundee. I was up there for a week, and then whilst I was up there, I got a phone call saying that Leicester wanted me to go down. So obviously, I kind of just packed my bags and went up to Leicester, and I ended up getting a deal at Leicester, and I was there for a couple of years from there. So it's a bit mad.
I'd say a bit of a whirlwind sort of season as such, travelling the country. Just talk to us how that was.
I was kind of just chasing in my head. Like I'd come out, and then I ended up playing at the lowest form of football. Got an enjoyment back just playing with my mates, like that feeling that you had in school and stuff like that. And from then I just kind of just kept doing well. And it was a bit. It happened so fast for me in that time that at that time I was probably thinking I'm not going to get anything at Dundee. I'm not even going to get anything. Yeah, they're interested, but I'm not going to get anything. And then Leicester called when I was up there, because I remember sat in a room in Dundee, and I was literally just thinking, "Oh, did I do well today in training? I could have done better. No, they're probably not going to sign me." That's just the way my head was thinking. I was so negative about, because I wanted to do so well all the time. When I felt like I didn't get the best out of myself, I'd beat myself down. I'd go home, sit in the room, and I'd be panicking. I'd be texting my agents, and if you heard anything from them, they said I was, decent in training, and just trying to get something, because I felt like
some feedback.
Because I was just so eating myself down all the time. And then he texted me back and said, "I'll call you in 5." And I remember it. He just said, "Look, Leicester want you to." And I'm like, I can't believe what's got at the time. I couldn't believe myself, because I was disappointed at myself. I'd not even been bad, but I just always want to do more. I always want to stand out so much. And when I don't stand out, that's when I kind of just used to, even if the game didn't go to plan, like if you're playing a certain position and the opposition are playing a type of game of football which just doesn't suit a certain players, make it slow, physical, and delay the game, just can't get on the ball, and you can't play a passing game. And I'd go away and I'd beat myself down, even though that game wasn't in my control. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I'd I'd let it eat me up, and it would literally eat me up to the point where I'd go into training, and I wouldn't go into training with a mentality of, right, this week I'm gonna smash it. I'd go into training and I'd be feeling crap about myself. Like, that's how I felt. I wouldn't be going in like, right, this week I'm gonna push harder. I'm gonna push harder because I didn't do as much as I wanted to do in the game on the Saturday. I'd just eat myself up all weekend. That it would put me in that state of mind that when I go in on Monday morning, I'm still like that guy that's sulking about the game that's gone, you know? But that's just how I was. And I didn't realise I was like that. But everyone else picked up on it. But it obviously was from the effects from younger. Didn't realise. But it just happened so fast. The Dundee situation and then the Leicester. We played a game against Loughborough University. And then after that, we played Tottenham. I got about 15 minutes because I was a trialist. I got about 15 minutes and I done well in the 15 minutes I got. And then I started against Loughborough University in the week and had a really good game. And then after that, I got offered a contract from there. So it just...
I say from that contract there was a number of loan spells, and were you just really looking to get settled and have a run of football and show that talent that you've got?
Yeah, I think at Leicester, because when I got to Leicester, it was kind of, they was pumping a load of money. It's when the, like the under-23s Champions League and all that lot started. It was when that was just starting. So they were pumping a lot of money into players to just basically do well in that Champions League sort of thing. All the big clubs were. And obviously winning the under-21s Premier League at the time was a big thing for each club as well, because it was like kind of getting a bit of publicity and stuff like that. And I was in that from when it was starting to come out, and the clubs was trying to kick off in it and do well in it. And I was happy. It was good because it was competitive and I was doing really well. And then after that first year, it was like, right, I've got a second year now. What do I need to do? And obviously my agent was like, right, let's try and get out on loan and get some men's football. And nothing, like, I was in and out, playing in and out. And then I remember Nicky Eden, who used to play for Wigan. He was obviously our assistant manager to be at Leicester, and he knew the chairman at Nuneaton. And I kind of went to Nuneaton. I didn't want to go to Nuneaton because what had got to me the most at that time is that I'd been up and down. I've been to the bottom. I've been up and down. I've been to the bottom. And I got back to Leicester and I was doing so well. And then they was telling me they wanted me to go on loan to Nuneaton. And obviously that was in the conference at the time. And I didn't look down on it. It was just because of the places I've been through that such short a period of time, up, down, up, down, up, down. I just wanted to just stay for a bit where I was. Do you know what I mean?
Get settled.
And obviously, then Nigel Pearson said, look, it'd be good for you to go there. So I ended up going there, and I had a month, and, I was flying in the conference, and I really enjoyed it. And then it got extended another month. And then I started getting interest from bigger clubs in that division and stuff like that, from putting in good performances against them. And then, obviously, the whole Bristol Rovers move came about. And that was probably the best time I've probably ever had in football up to now, to date, to be honest. Obviously, playing in front of 11,000 fans, starting every game, putting in really good performances. I think there was an article that I counted my assists because I was just doing really well. Like, I was just loving it. And I got like 17 assists in 24 games in that period from being on loan at Nuneaton and in Bristol Rovers. And I was flying. And I was like, my agent was saying, oh, this club's interested. And I was just like, just buzzing with everything. And like another problem which I didn't cause is I played every game up until that. And then because the clubs didn't sort out my loan properly and, that sort of stuff, I was on loan, played more or less every game, started every game. And then it come to the playoffs and my loan had expired and I couldn't extend it. Oh. And then they ended up getting promotion and playing at Wembley and winning at Wembley in the playoff final. And I'd have been a part of that, I'd have been a part of that. But then again, something that messed upon not my control. I missed out on the opportunity to play in the playoffs and play at Wembley in the final, which I probably would have played in because I was doing so well. And that kind of hit me. That hit me massive. I remember going to Wembley with the missus. We travelled up the night before, stayed, watched it, and I was certain that I was going to get a deal at Bristol. Then I'd done so well. The fans loved me. I'd done so well, and then over the summer, I was just told, yeah, this club's interested. You've done so well. You've done so well. You're so well. So I went on holiday, and he was saying, yeah, don't sign. I had managers ringing me, don't sign there, don't sign there. My agent's telling me otherwise, this and that. Don't sign there, don't sign there. And I got back, and it was literally a week before I went back in pre-season. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I need something. Obviously, Leicester didn't extend my contract, even though I'd done so well. And I ended up with nothing.
Wow.
And I ended up getting a call off. I remember sat in the Village Hotel. I went to the gym and I sat by the pool in the Village Hotel by mine. And Mike Crichton and Gary Wild, and Tim Flowers, who was running Kidderminster, called me. And I ended up signing there. And then in the space of 10 games there, about 7-8 weeks, we played Tranmere. And then, Gary Brabin spoke to my agent, and he told me that Tranmere liked me, and then obviously that's a massive club, and I love that feeling at Bristol where there's 11,000 fans and such a big club, nice stadium, and Kidderminster, great club, like it's a lovely little ground, like it's a proper football league club. It was well Kidderminster, like, great club, really well, but obviously me being away from home again, I didn't have an option. Like, when I left Kidderminster, I said it was because I didn't like living away from home. And obviously in the past, it affected me. But because I didn't have an option when I come back after being told I had this option, don't sign here, don't sign there, I come back and I had nothing. And it was a week going into pre-season. So I had to just bite of whatever was given to me.
Yeah.
So after that performance at Tranmere and Tranmere showing interest in me, I just kind of made that move happen, went to Tranmere. And then again, I was flying at Tranmere, and then I ruptured my adductor off the bone. I was flying up until November, December, ruptured that off, and then that put me out for the season. And then going through that, with all the problems I had going on in my head and around me, which I'd not dealt with, I'd just been playing football to get over it, then not playing and being sat out for 7-8 months just tortured me.
Yeah.
And then after doing so well at Tranmere, and then, I was only on loan all year. And then the Kidderminster situation, because I was still a Kidderminster player, but they was wanting me to drive in with a ruptured adductor to see the physio after having an operation. They was wanting me to drive in and see the physio and stuff like that. And I was doing it at first, but it just got too much on me. Like, I was driving every day, 2 hours, and 2 hours there, 2 hours back. And it just kind of got too much. And then I kind of agreed to just settle a figure, because I was out for the season with Kidderminster. And then because I've been injured for 6 months, 7-8 months, obviously who's going to take me in the new season now the season's finished, because I've had no game time. And there was interest, but I kind of didn't want to drop too low again, and prove myself, because I'd just done Nuneaton and Bristol, flying at Tranmere, got injured, and the worst thing I want to do is drop down again, to pick myself back up, because it started to become a cycle, and I was just getting annoyed. I wanted stability.
Yeah.
And then Eastleigh called, which is the other end of the country, but it was the only option I had. It was either Southport or Eastleigh. And obviously Eastleigh was throwing loads of money at the time. I've been out for 8 months, so I wasn't earning. I picked up a settlement figure, but still being out for 8 months and not receiving income, it's tough. So I went and signed for Eastleigh. Started doing well at Eastleigh again. And then Tranmere didn't want to offer me a new deal, but then when I started doing well at Eastleigh again, they come back in for me. But because it was away from home, my missus fell pregnant whilst I was down there at Eastleigh. So me coming back home, was the thing that I felt like was the right thing to do while my missus was carrying, is be up here. And I kind of went to Tranmere, and it just didn't work out. I don't know why. It just didn't work out. And that happens in football. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I went back to Tranmere. It just didn't work out. And I was just sat on the fence then for another year, another 18 months, just sat on the fence, trying to pick out loans and where to go. And I don't want to drop too low. And it's just that cycle that I was telling you about, which I didn't realize I was in until obviously I sorted myself out. But you know, everyone looks at my CV and thinks there's something wrong with my attitude and this and that. And yeah, sometimes I did snap out, but a lot of it was just emotionally. Like I struggled, like I really struggled with the expectation of be the next best thing as a kid, and not reach the heights because
Yeah.
mentally I don't think I was ready for it. I wasn't prepared and I wasn't guided for that sort of expectation as it hit me later on. And then I just felt like I was just that kid that was meant to be someone and wasn't. And it ate me up. And I was always chasing. And then ever since then, I've probably just been chasing them moments of what I had at Bristol Rovers, where I was loving football, enjoyed it so much. My performances were standing out. And, you know, once you get that, and that's it with football. When you have the good moments, you always want them moments. But there is a lot of moments that you've got to be strong about in football. To any kid that's coming up, I feel like you have to be better. You know, be patient and take your time and just keep working hard. And no matter what happens, just stick at it, stick at it. But I just didn't know how to deal with all that stuff emotionally, and I think that's why I've had all these clubs.
I can say the thing that stands out to me is there you clearly just wanted to enjoy a run of games and a bit of stability, but there was a lot of moves away from home. Do you think that tied in with you, as you're saying, chasing, just wanting that stability, has probably affected your playing chances by just wanting to do so well?
Yeah, massively. But like, and obviously, I'm not talking thousands and thousands of millions of money like everyone else is on. But obviously, there was, you know, non-league clubs even now, like in the conference and the conference north, they pay really good money for, you know, the level it is, like really good money. And I'd been out for 8 months, so for Eastleigh to offer me, you know, money that I'd not been on for a while, and Southport offering me a quarter of that, you know, it was just I needed to for everything that was outside of football to that sort of stability to pay my bills, my rent and stuff like that. I needed that sort of stuff, so I had to go and do it. I had no choice.
With a child on the way as well, you know.
Well, that was after. That was literally, you know, a couple months after, 2-3 months after the time there. But Eastleigh was a great club at the time as well. Like everything was well looked after, but I just couldn't cope with being away from home. But it was a decision I had to take for bills I had to pay. You know, like I couldn't. You know, as you get older, sometimes you got to think about the reality of stuff and paying your bills. You know, rather than chasing a dream. And I had to, for being out for so long injured. I had to go down there, and it, you know, it's like the Tranmere situation. Like that is such a good Tranmere, is such a good club. Loved it, and I'm just gutted it never worked out the second time, because the first time I was flying like I was at Bristol. For the first few times I was flying, I loved it. The lads were great. Everything was good. Gary Brabham were class, and you know it was mint. And then after that injury, I just went through that patch where I needed to get some sort of stability back in myself, and that's why I moved back down south. And the wrong decision, but the right decision. Right, wrong decision for football terms, but right decision for, you know, the reality of what, you know, life and pain stuff. And then kind of just, like I said, that Tranmere, the second time at Tranmere, it just didn't work out. It just didn't fit into the plans as I was thinking I was going to. It was a new manager and under Mickey Mellon and stuff like that. And, you know, he's done a great job, but I just didn't fit into how he wanted to play and what he wanted. And you just got to accept that sometimes. But I just found it really hard to deal with, you know. And I think from Tranmere, I was just stuck because I was just stuck. I was contracted, I was getting paid, but I was stuck. No one would take me. The journey that I've just told you about, like this all looks on paper like I've got serious problems with myself, like my attitude, and on paper, that's what it looks like. And I just found myself stuck. No one would touch me. And then going on to Darlington, I think Southport as well, and ended up signing at Telford recently. And I think the major thing with Telford was we were part-time, so I could commute Tuesday, Thursdays. And I knew Gavin Cowan because I played with him at Nuneaton before I went to Bristol Rovers, so he knew a lot about me. And Gav's class. Gav understood me as a person, as a player. He knew where I were, and emotionally, he even spoke to me before he signed that. You could see that I always struggled emotionally. Like, I'd be that player that if I went down the wing and I took someone on and then my cross went over the bar rather than in the box, I'd let the whole stadium know about it because I'd fling my arms in the air and go, oh, and they're the things what's, really, like, people have always said to my agent growing up through the past. I always show my frustrations without knowing that. I don't think it's just become such a habit that it just happens and it looks bad. But I'm not a bad person, like, as people perceive, like, as people do. I'm not. But from then, I kind of just went to Telford under Gav, done well, enjoyed it. And he knew how to tick my boxes and get me playing and stuff like that. But then I kind of, I don't want to say anything bad about Gav because Gav's been class to me. And when I'd play for Gav, I'd come on for the last half an hour and I'd completely change the game. Like, I'd come on and I'd do what he'd tell me to do. I'd waste time just taking people on in a corner, or if he needed a goal, I'd create something by taking people on, and that's my sort of game. But obviously the way Gav played was a really good style of football, but he had his way of playing. And then I'd come on for the last 30, 40 minutes and change the game sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But then that started to eat me up because I wanted more game time. So then, even though it was going good, I just wanted to play more. And Gav, that's first spell when I signed for Telford, Gav was getting the best out of me again. And I messed it up. Because I wanted to get more game time when I was actually looking really good when I was coming on for them 30, 40 minutes, and I was coming on and affecting the game, which a lot of people look for, which could have took me up another level. And I just beat myself up about not playing as much as I wanted to. And then I ended up, where did I end up going then? I ended up going to, was it Chester?
Yeah, we've got Chester. And then obviously the move
yeah, so I went to Chester after that. I knew Bernard and Jono from by my end, they lived by me. I went there, put in a few decent performances, some okay performances. Put in a really hard working performance against Stockport away. But then Macclesfield got in touch as well because I was only on like a non-contract at Chester. Mm-hmm. So it was in my position to say if I wanted to leave or not. So obviously Macclesfield come around and kind of just spoke to the guy there who was really good with me, and he helped me a lot, to be honest. And then I got that over the line, and then I was buzzing. I was like, right, I've got my chance at Mac. I went in with Sol Campbell for 2 weeks, trialling with him. Gambled, everything I had at Chester with Bernard and Jono because it was a trial. Yeah. It wasn't a given contract. The guy at Macclesfield wanted to sign me, but Sol wanted to see me, which is fair enough. I went in for 2-3 weeks, earned it, got given something. And then I remember going down to Grimsby the day before. It was a Friday night. And I was making my first Football League start after all this mess that I'd gone through. I was thinking, right, I'm in the place where I need to be. All that is just struggle. I've got to where I am. I'm buzzing. It gets announced that I've signed for Macclesfield on the Friday. And then I get a phone call in the morning from my hotel saying, can you come down? Saul wants to speak to you. And I come down and get told that I can't play for 6 months because I've already played for 2 clubs and third club rule. And someone had reported me from whoever. I think it was, I'm not saying names, but, I'd seen the emails and someone had reported me. They put it all through the night before and it was all fine. And then in the morning, obviously they'd received an email from someone, don't know who. I'd seen the emails, and I know I do know who it is, but I just don't want to say who it is.
Yeah.
And they basically said, why is he allowed to play for 3 clubs when this player's not? And he was comparing me to the Tammy Abraham deal, which hadn't even happened. You know, when he played for Chelsea in the Charity Shield beginning of the season, went on loan to, was it Villa?
Villa, he went, yeah.
And then he was going to nick a move to Wolves, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they was comparing, like, well, he's played for 3 clubs, right? And he can't go to Wolves because of the 3rd club rule. Why is he allowed to play for 2 clubs, Chester and Telford, and go to Macclesfield?
Mm-hmm.
And I was, like, so prepared. Like, I was so buzzing. I was on the coach. Like, I was almost in tears in a sense when I'd sat there and just thought about, like, what I'd been through, where I'd got to. Buzzing that I'm on the coach playing for Macclesfield. I'm starting my first game against Grimsby at a decent stadium. I'm buzzing my head off, and then I wake up in the morning and get that news, and I just broke down. Like, I broke down for 6 months, and then I thought, right, how am I going to pick myself up for 6 months, even though I can't even kick a ball in a game? I can just train. That's it. And I got through that, and you know the worst thing about it was I signed at Macclesfield on a contract which was performance based.
Okay.
So I was on literally peanuts. I was literally on less than minimum wage. I gambled everything I had, football league club, gambled everything I had for less than minimum wage. But if I played, I started, I assisted, we won, the wage would be decent.
Mm-hmm.
So then I've signed this contract and I can't play. I'm stuck on this crap wage for 6 months. I can't provide for my daughter. I can't provide for nothing. I'm taking loans out to pay bills for the 6 months I'm there. Because I can't go. I could have left and gone and played for another non-league club, which is bizarre because non-league rules are different.
Yeah.
But I thought, why do that? Like, I've got through all this to get to where I am. Something's hit me again, like 6 months, right? 6 months, but you know, I've been injured for 8-9 months, and you know, I've done this stuff before. At least I can still train. But then the bills and the debt I accumulated from this crappy contract I was on because I couldn't play started eating away at me and just beating me down to the ground to the point of where, like, it just took over. I couldn't play. I couldn't put things right. I couldn't do nothing. And I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to, because I was scared of what the out people would think. Oh, he's just signed for Macclesfield and he's left already. You know, I could have done that, but then I'd just have another club to my CV. So I was like, no, I've got to grind it out. My missus was, you know, supporting me. She was like, just grind it out. You can't just leave again another club. But this is what I mean. People outside don't see the you know, the stuff that I've actually been through and how hard it's been for me. And then I got offered a new deal by just, you know, getting on Saul's side and working hard in training. And, you know, I was lucky. I'd done well and felt like I deserved it because I did keep my attitude out on the pitch and on training as much as I could. Mm-hmm. You know, like I was struggling for petrol. I couldn't even get in. Like, I was literally at the point where I was that broke. I was going to petrol stations and purposely just saying, filling up, and then purposely saying I forgot my card just so I could get into training because I didn't want to lose that opportunity of what I had and what I got to. And then obviously finding out, like, obviously I couldn't play for 4 or 5 months because of the embargo or whatever when I signed my new deal. But I was still lagged back in all this crap from the 6 months and the debt and this crap contract and not being able to play, and just another hurdle and another, you know, like journey that of pain that I have to get myself through just to try and get back on path. And I got to a point, and then I found out that I could play at Macclesfield, that, you know, players were playing again. But I was so unfit. Like, I was so unfit because I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't doing nothing, you know, like you should be doing as an athlete. I was doing none of that. And I was going into training and I was just, I wouldn't say I was abysmal. Some days I'd do well and stuff like that. But, you know, I was just never there. And I'm even like, you know, up until recently when I took time off, I said, I'm not coming back in. I'm seeing a counsellor, and I got mental health and spoke about it and stuff. And, that journey at Macclesfield, that time there has just been so hard. And on that crap money as well, on that crap money, and then not even getting paid on that crap money on time. I'm waiting 7-8 weeks to just get paid.
Yeah.
I had debt coming on my door. I couldn't even organise my finances because they want a date of when you're going to pay them back. And we was never given a date to when we was going to get paid. We was 2-3 weeks getting paid. We was a month behind getting paid. I couldn't give them a date, so I couldn't arrange my finances. So over that time, everything was just building. Lost my car insurance. I was driving uninsured to training for 3 months. I had my car repossessed, everything. And people don't realise what I've actually been through. And people are probably even now, Dawson went to Macclesfield, but he couldn't cut the grade. He didn't make the grade. I can make the grade. I know I can make the grade. And I know I can push on and do well. I know I can. But that journey there, that affected me, that's what made me open up to realise what everything had just, my whole, up until now, I just struggled mentally, emotionally, just from having such expectation from such a young age and not being able to channel my emotions. And then falling in and out of clubs is not because I'm a bad person, just because, I just mentally, and I just wasn't there. I couldn't fix where my head was at. I could never fix. I'd let everything beat me down. I was always negative about myself. I would always, it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing because my passion for football is so high. I'm still a kid. I'll still say to the missus, I'm going on the field on my own, and I'll spend 6 hours on the field on my own, just keeping the ball up. That's my love for the game. I love it. But the journey just makes you think, why? Pulls you away from it. And that's one reason why I went into futsal. I was in futsal from a young age. A Portuguese geezer who played professionally in Portugal. He was playing for Lisbon as a kid and stuff like that, and Porto. And he moved over here. He didn't play professionally in the game, but, he had trials at Chelsea, and he's not a lot older than me. He's about 38, 39. And obviously they're brought up on futsal, and futsal wasn't big over here. It was kind of just people who enjoyed it made a league out of it and stuff like that. And they got local teams, and a lot of the students who study over here from Brazil and from Spain and come to the universities over here all know about futsal. So they was the sort of players playing in it. And I kind of just fell into it, and I loved it, because futsal for me, because you're always playing and you're always involved and you're always on the ball and you're always doing what you want to do, that it just made me, it opens that where I can just go and express myself again.
Yeah.
And there's no problems because you're not getting paid. You kind of just go and playing, but you're just playing with freedom. You're just playing as you should do, really. You're enjoying every game. And that's that over the last, apart from Bristol Rovers, my happiest moments are probably playing futsal. And even now, I'm thinking for next year, what can I do? Because when I was at Southport, I got called to go to the England training camp. And I asked Kevin Davis at the time, could I go? And obviously I was getting paid, and they was doing a couple of days where you go in the morning, and then they was doing Tuesday, Thursday night. So there was full time, but not every day full time.
Yeah.
And I asked him, could I go? Because I really wanted to go. And I was told I was going to start on a Saturday. He needed me because he told me we were going to start on a Saturday. And I was like, this is such a big opportunity. I want to go and do it. It's part-time. It's National North. Just let me go and experience this opportunity. I want to do it. And I got told I was starting on the Saturday, this and that. And it comes to the Saturday, they even get on the pitch. And it's just little things like that where I just felt like, I'd been nice about asking for it. I just needed to go and do that for an experience, it was at St. George's where the England training gear, and, just if I'd have gone there, it could have opened opportunities for me to go and play for England then and do stuff like that. And that's why, because I know I can do well in futsal over here, and I can play at that level for it. I know I can because I'm quite clued up on the game, and watch it and I study it, and that's my sort of game, or technical, stuff like that. And that's why where I've had this time to just take time out, get myself sorted, get my life back on track. I'm just thinking about what makes me happy and what do I want to do.
Yeah.
So my aim next year is go part-time football, but I want to play futsal because I want to really push futsal and hit that England team and start doing that, because I think if I get that England team and get there, I feel like it's an achievement through everything I've went through, just doing something I enjoy and love, and it's football related, but it's futsal. I feel like I've all that I went through was worthy of something, and that's why I want to do that next year. But at the same time, because I'm so focused now. Sorry, 1 second. All right, dude. Because I'm so focused now on where I want to go, it's kind of like, if I do futsal, what makes me happy, and I go and play in the National North and pick up money playing part-time Tuesday, Thursday, and do futsal where I'm allowed to do both, and set up my coaching brand and my business sort of thing, I know full well that my football will take off again because I'm happy within myself, and I've been where I've been to, and I've built myself up. And obviously I've got opportunities in futsal then to decide whether I want to stick at that and do really well in that, or if I get playing in the North and I do really well and the football club comes in for me, I'll be ready for it because of what I've went through. So I actually feel like all I went through was kind of to make me as a person, get to know me as a person, and where I'm at my life. And I just feel clean of everything. And it's just been a really tough journey, but I don't think I've had any luck. People will see all the clubs and all the opportunities I've had, but every club, the big clubs I've had, I know there's a lot of clubs, but a lot of them have been loans from big clubs. But in terms of the for example, the Bristol Rovers, where my loan couldn't get extended, I couldn't play at the playoffs, and the whole Bury situation, I went there as a kid and then I got left out after swapping to go Liverpool. And it's just been a really tough. There's just been problems which have not been in my control, and the Macclesfield situation, and then obviously the remaining period up until now, I've just not been in a position to play. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing nothing because I was so beaten down by where I'm at now. I'm kind of just cleaning myself up, and I'm just focused on what's going to happen. And I think this whole time where the coronavirus and stuff like that.
I mean, Luke, aside from the rest of the interview, mate, it's good to see that you're in a good place, because I'll speak from my experience offline. We edit out. I left a 25 grand a year job, to go to Macclesfield because I wanted that career. To be told by the manager at the time I should be grateful that I've got a chance under his staff, and I wasn't getting paid.
That's what I mean.
I didn't tell my missus. She was pregnant at the time. I had to drive.
But you were chasing what you wanted.
Yeah.
And I understand that's where I was at. I was always chasing, and that's why I said earlier, I was always chasing something and not caring about how I was going to get it or what effects it'd have on me or anyone else around me, because I was so driven to get it. And it just ended up going tits up in a sense, and I understand.
It's tough, mate, and I would never wish it on my worst enemy to go for a period of time and not be paid a wage and default on your mortgage, or it's just not nice. I never wish it on my worst enemy. It was awful.
No, it's been tough, and like you said, the only way to get through it all is speaking and just getting it off your chest, innit, and seeking help, even though you don't think it will help, because you don't. I never thought it did. PFA pushed me that much to go, and they put money into it. I had to go. I didn't want to go, but I had to go, and I've never looked back since.
I'll be honest, I still, from my LinkedIn page, I don't know if you're on LinkedIn. My psychiatrist, I speak to him once a week still. He lives in the island now, but you know, I remember going in, similar to what you said, going into his first session, and he jotted all these things down on the board, and I come out and went, that didn't help. But then
No,
when I was in certain experiences, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah, and that's it's just how it is. You've got to want to. You don't want to, but you've just got to push yourself to go, because in the end it will work. And you know, people don't, when people hit rock bottom, they don't think they'll get out of it by just speaking to someone. You know, they've got all these debts, and then they think, well, how's speaking to someone going to help me with debts, or help me with breaking up with my missus, or, you know, just for example, how's that going to help by just speaking to someone? I ain't going to put it right. But it just opens your eyes up as to say, well, you know, what you can do going forward, and it kind of gives you stepping stones to take, which I took. So every session I went, she'd tell me, right, what you're going to be doing this week, so I'll see you next week, and I'm going to do this. And then when I'd seen her, she'd be like, have you done it? What are you going to do now? And it was kind of like week by week, but I knew going back to my next session, if I didn't do what I said I was going to do, you know, what's the point? Like, you know, is she going to think that I'm an idiot and I'm not trying to, you know, put myself right? Am I going to be a bum sort of thing? But even though you're in that position, you feel like you have to do something before you see your counsellor the week after. So it might be the smallest thing, but after 4 and 5 sessions, these small things become bigger and bigger and bigger. And it ends up just being a weight off your shoulders, like, well, I can do this, I can do that, I'm going to look into that. And straight away, you're just open-minded, and, you know, and it, like I said, you know, she said she don't need to speak to me at the minute. I've still got 8 sessions left with her.
Okay.
And she drops me a text, but I don't speak to her. I don't use my sessions up, because she knows that since this time where everyone's off work and the pandemic, she's seen me become, you know, where I want to go and what I want to do. But before we all got stuck inside and stuff like that, I was building up. And it got to a point where I had everything what I wanted to do. And then this time off now, I was kind of just let me set everything up. So, you know, it's just helped massively, huge. And I'd advise anyone to speak to someone about, you know, just if you need help, like, just definitely go and speak to someone. But what really angered me through the pain, that, like, the situation I was going through and I was in a mess, was the PFA and the FA run the mental health campaigns, and the football clubs have to post about them. It's kind of the league sort of thing. And at that time, Macclesfield were posting mental health, knowing I was going through shit, but no one could give a, you know, crap about me. And my mates knew what I was going through, and my mates was going on commenting under that tweet, not mentioning my name, but saying, like, you know, you're not even paying players, you don't even care about how you're affecting them, like, and you're posting how you support mental health, like, you don't care, you're doing it because you have to. And that's what really, I was so close to opening up and blowing up on Twitter, you know, at football clubs that do that. And because I know that there's been lads in the dressing room at Macclesfield going through the time I've been there, you know, the young lads especially, you know, they put on an ego, like, not an ego as in big time, but they don't want to look weak.
Yeah.
They don't want to look weak. So they act different so they don't look weak. And now me going through what I went through, because I was in that dressing room, the only one that was, like, really going through it, I was like, I can't be the only one going through this mess by not getting paid on time, not doing this, and the club just not paying on time, and, you know, all the problems that the club had. And even the players who, like, players that was injured and not getting paid, and they needed an operation and they couldn't get the club had no insurance to pay for the operation, so they was having to find money to pay, you know, to help them for their career to get back. And there was no way that I was the only person, and I say it to my missus, there's no way that I'm the only one who's in that dressing room that's openly, like, now in a position to say, you know, like, struggling. And it got to a point where the managers did know I was struggling. Darryl McMahon, who came in, knew I was struggling. He was really supportive, like, he always, you know, really helped me. And that, I just look back and think there's no way that I was the only one. but I just felt like because I was the only one and everyone knew my problems, I didn't want to go in because I was the only one who was like, we had a meeting about it, and it, I don't want to say names, but there was a member of staff, and he was on, like not a great wage, but like not the best wages, and he struggled. He couldn't get in, and he was getting in, and we had a meeting about not getting paid, and it was like 2 weeks we'd not been paid for, and we all remember sat at Sandback where we was training. Got caught in a meeting with Down McMahon, and one of the lads that said that he's not coming today, lads, just in case you didn't know, because he's really struggling. He's really struggling. He's not coming in because he's really struggling. This was a member of staff. And when one of the lads said that, I popped up and I started speaking, saying, "Look, Gaffer," and I actually broke to the point of where I nearly broke into tears. And from that one lad mentioning who was close to this member of staff, who was youngish, one of the players who was close to him, from that one lad who, I don't want to say his name, but he's a good mate of mine, but I just don't want to, in case, him telling me that that person was like that and struggling, if it wasn't for him mentioning that to the group, I don't think I'd have said I was struggling. Yeah. And then I would have been in a position where the times when I couldn't get into work because I couldn't afford it, I would have felt like I had to get in, and I would have, got myself into more debt and accumulated more debt. But because of that one person that, said that someone else is going through the same problems, that member of staff, I felt like I could then. So that's how important it is for people to speak, in a sense, because I was locking myself up, and because I knew someone else was going through the same thing, I kind of just said, like, I'm really struggling, and I nearly broke into tears. I think I did, break into tears, and all the lads were supportive. Every lad was supportive. Gaffer was sound. Like, I'd text him and say, "Gaffer, can't afford to get in. And he was like, "Dawes, don't worry about it, no problem." And, just that message off the gaffer, like Darryl at the time, it helped me a lot, because I was so happy that I had that relief where I could just be honest and not be criticised for it, because I was going through it and I didn't want to be judged upon. And I think when I did speak to Darryl and let him know about my situation, he was so good. And he's probably the one where he said, if you open the door and, like I said before, come in and speak to me. I didn't play for him, but, he supported me in that sense of like what I was going through. And he really kind of took a lot of pressure off me, because he was really good.
I live in Stoke, so 30 miles away from Mac, and I was driving halfway, carrying all my equipment to the club, and then doing what I needed to do, and then walking back halfway and driving home because I didn't have the money. Nobody sees that. They just see, "Oh, you've left 9 months into a job at a football club."
That's it, and that is it. And it's like, if I was like, this is the problem I've got now. If I go back into football and I say, "Adrian, go and do, go and see if this club," or just put my name out on the rotor, go and find me, and I write a CV up. If I write my problems on that CV of if I basically write down what I've just told you throughout this conversation on a CV, you'd think, too much baggage. Like, that's too much. Can't deal with that. Too much. Now, if I just wrote my clubs on a CV, they'd go, "Oh, he's acid, bad attitude." So I'm in a lose-lose situation. So the only way I'd probably like said it is to be honest and speak up about it, and then for some manager to, just have a bit of luck where a manager might go, "I went through the same stuff. If you're ready, come in." And that's probably the only opportunity I've got now, is to just let everyone know that I struggled that bad. I was sleeping in my car. Because I couldn't afford to get back and forth from training. I'd drive and sleep in my car. I'd sleep in my car just because I didn't have enough fuel. And I was so scared that if I didn't turn up to training and say I couldn't afford to get into training, they'd be like, well, that's your problem.
Yeah.
That's your problem. We pay you, but you don't pay me. But they'll be like, we pay you.
Yeah.
You know,
Brutality.
And that's what it is. And it's been a mess. Honestly, it's been a mess. And say I can't be the only one. You know, and I know there's lads there, but they're just being strong to not show it because of that conversation we had before. They don't want people to know they've got weaknesses because it'll stop them from playing, or you know, they'll get looked upon different, and that is the issue. You know, that is the issue. But if I'd told them about my problems earlier on, would that have helped me? Probably, yeah, it would have. Yeah. If depends on, because it depends who the manager is and depends who's in charge and how they look upon things. Because every manager is different. They have different ways of dealing with things. Like some people think, oh, we all go through problems. You got to get on with it and crack on and deal with it. Old school managers would be like that, and you know, I think they just need people in the club who are alongside the gaffer, who are just as important as the manager. All right, yeah, the manager picks the team and whatever, but you know, in terms of mental state, like I think, like you know, there should be that person you can speak to, and the gaffer's got to be alongside of that person who who looks after the players who might have problems, and make sure that the decision making is fair. Like because if a gaffer pulled me into his office and went, "Doss, how are you feeling today?" And I've gone through all this crap, I'm struggling, I've got debt collectors at my doors and stuff like that. But then if that gaffer went, all right, I'm not interested in that, but how are you feeling? Do you want to play? I need you to play. Do you want to play? Are you mentally, like, do you want to go and release that emotion out on the pitch? Do you want to play? If managers were more like that, then, but then again, that side of it, like, if you are like that, you're probably not slept, you've not ate, so you're not going to last, and then all them aspects come into it. So I can understand how difficult it is for football clubs in terms of, because it's all about results and winning, and they get fans through the gates at low clubs if you're winning and doing well, some more receipts, and it's a cycle of things. But there needs to be something where players feel like they can talk, but it's not going to affect the career or 100%. Yeah. It's just a thing in football where, because football is such a mentality game as well, like it's mentality, and it's obviously physical and technical, but the mentality side of the game is so high that if you've got a problem, you're perceived to not be ready to play or do your job as if no matter what line of work you are in a football club. Like, I just feel like it's hard to explain, but what I went through and obviously what you've been through, it's just like there needs to be some sort of platform where you can speak to people and it not affect you, because I'm telling you, the way kids are as well now growing up, and the money that's being thrown at kids at 16, 17 to go and play for Chelsea and on 5-10 grand a week without even kicking a football in men's football, and if I was 16 and were given 10 grand a week, I'd have gone off the rails. Like, the situation, most people would. Mm-hmm. And when that contract runs out and they've pissed all that money up the wall because they don't know what to do with it at such a young age, or they might probably have a bit of guidance, but you're not going to get a new deal at Chelsea. You've been on 5 grand a week from 16 till 23, and then you've got to go to Macclesfield to kickstart your career on 400 quid a week. You're going to say no fucking chance. Do you know what I mean? You're going to say no chance. I'm not going there because of where you've been at and the amount of money that's been thrown at you. You've been living that start life of footballer. There's so many of them who stay at them big clubs till they're 24, like on 15, 20 grand a week, and not kick to first team football, and they go out on loan and you can't even get a game on loan, and they're on more money than all them like plays in the Championship and in League One and League Two, and they're not even getting on the pitch and they're on double the wages, and it's bizarre. And I think that needs to be put into place, in terms of if you want good English talent to come through the ranks and progress into the, breakthrough. Because I think there's so much money being thrown at kids and at the parents to get them to go to that club. Like, I was speaking to someone I know who coaches, and he was saying basically, like, not a professional club, but he runs like an academy, and all scouts take these players from this academy. And he's saying the amount of clubs that bargain the parents with money to get them to go to that club and stuff like that. It's not right in terms of where you want to go as a kid, like just to follow your dream and just progress. There's no help for when you fall off. And I think that is something that, especially with all the money that's in football, there's got to be something where people can pay to help, because it's just going to I feel like it'll get worse because of the money that's in football. And obviously the clubs like Macclesfield who are struggling, who probably Bury who can't afford to survive, like just they're on strings to survive. And what's going to happen when all these clubs start folding, and then there's going to be no clubs for these players to drop to, and earn a living eventually, because of the amount of money that's not getting filtered down to help. And it just shows, because if you look at Bury, they got was it this season they got told they couldn't?
It was just after Christmas, wasn't it? Or just before
but
Christmas?
This season they get told that they're not allowed to be part of the Football League, and they forward and go into administration and all that. But yet there's 5 League Two clubs on the verge of falling into that bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the PFA going to do? Help them 5 clubs? But they didn't help Bury.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if they help them 5 clubs, I genuinely believe there's a case for Bury to be reinstated into the league, because the season's not finished. Like, if they cancel the seasons, then what difference does it make?
Well, that's what my argument is. If the season's null and void, and they take all the results out, Bury should be reinstated next year.
That's my that's how I feel, because clubs are going to need help, and the PFA and the FA are probably going to help them, because if there's that many clubs needing help, it's going to mess the whole system up in terms of the divisions. Yeah. If 6 clubs go forward in League Two, for example, how are they going to promote clubs from the north, from the conference, relegation? Like, how's it all going to work? So the only way to do it is just nullify it all, draw a line, cancel it, and just put everyone back at ease when the season starts, and help everyone. Because I just can't believe the Bury situation, like growing up, and it baffled me. And then just to see what's happening now in this situation, if, like you said, then if it's void, all decisions are void, aren't they? So that decision should be void.
You're looking at them and they're saying null and void, no promotion, no relegation, and all their history records are gone. They can't have the results. So if you're doing that in League Two, surely that's the same for Bury, and they should have the chance to be reinstated.
Exactly, and it's a long-serving club as well. Like, I know they was in a lot of debt, and whatever the owners have riddled them into, and whatever that went on, and all that, all the stuff that went on about that. But as a club and as a community, there's got to be something. We had this conversation all the time, but for Bury's history and the community, like, forget the owners, forget the greed. All right, yeah, liquidate the club, but the council own the ground. Like that doesn't change anything. You can just keep Bury as Bury, and just, like I said, if you're gonna, Phoenix Club, for example, if you get Phoenix Club at Bury, they're probably gonna have more fans than they was getting on a Saturday now than there was when they was in the league, because everyone's gonna be supporting the new Bury.
Yeah.
So if Bury got reinstated, they're gonna have more fans through the gate. They got to stay clean. That Phoenix Club, let Bury be Bury, and just do it that way. If it's void, obviously teams like Chester would have an argument if the season wasn't void and stuff like that, because they got liquidated and had to build the way back up. But like you said, if everything's void, then
this is a completely different situation, isn't it? This is a global pandemic, not a financial one, if that makes sense.
That's what I mean. And it's like Premier League clubs now. Still saying to us, like, we're having to fill in, even me now, all the lads are having to fill in like just how you're feeling each week and reporting back to the club so they can report it back to the EFL. So if you've got symptoms, if you're not, are you the same as last week? You know, are you okay? Because they're going to try and finish the season. They're going to try and finish the season. And it's like, well, if you try and finish the season, next season is just going to be a bizarre as well. It's just going to be just as chaotic because, you know, you're going to play all the way through pre-season. And what they're going to have to basically do is this time we've had off now is going to have to be a break.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to play all the way till the end of the season this year when it'd finish. Well, it'd be finished now anyway, wouldn't it? You'd have to play through pre-season. And then the week would finish. And then next Saturday, it'd just have to be a case of the new season.
Yeah.
And you'd have to play till the end to get it back right. But the lads aren't fit. You know, injuries, all sorts of stuff. Like, you're going to have to go back and play 3 games a week.
And like you say, there's been fit and then there's been match fit, haven't they? And there's nothing
you have to do. That's what I mean. You have to do a week or 2 weeks of pre-season anyway.
I know it's probably a little bit different. We've had to provide our eldest school with an answer where they go back. You know what they've turned around and says over the next 6 weeks they're going to do 2 days of educational stuff. The rest will be psychological and welfare. And I've said, well, why is she being used as a guinea pig? She can do that at home. So we're keeping her off. You know.
We said that. We said that because they said in nursery as well where they have to go out and play, but they have to have the 2-yard box or whatever. Have you seen that?
Yeah. We showed the pictures to my eldest because she's quite an emotional soul anyway, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And we showed it and she burst out in tears because she wouldn't see her mates. So we've said, nah, Luke, plan to go back in September. I'm not putting her through that. I want her to get through this. And, you know, when she's got kids or grandkids, to say, COVID-19, I loved it because I spent time with my mum and dad. I don't want it. I went to school and it was horrible.
And you know what? I don't know if you're self-employed or are you working at the minute or?
The whole thing with Mac put me back. So
was you there this year?
No, 2017 I was there.
Oh, right, okay.
I went in just after they lost in the FA Trophy final.
Yeah.
Left January 2018. But it put me back because of debt and, you know, I had to go out and get it. I've been working in a call centre doing sales, mate, and look, I'm not knocking it. It's not for me, but, you know, I left the army on a high after 12 years with constant success, which is, you know, why I appreciate your story so much. You know, you get built up, and then all of a sudden come out and it's like,
I can see like you're doing your podcast and stuff, like, you know, this is like a new thing, like a thing you want to do, isn't it? So obviously it's like, you know, make something of that, like that's what you're trying to do. And I understand, honestly, I was working in a warehouse, when was it, about 3 years ago in the pre-season, because obviously when you go to part-time contracts, they don't pay you through the summer. Yeah. So I was having going to wear a workout, like, just to provide over the summer for the little one and the missus. And I remember turning up and they pulled this lorry into the bay thing, and it was noodles in this long, it was so long lorry, and they come from China, and it was noodles, and they were stacked individually, like a shoe-sized box. It wasn't on a crate. They were just stacked in the back of this long ass lorry individually, and I had to take them off. I had to start at 7:30, I think it was, and it had to be all off the wagon for 12:30, and there was 3 of us. And honest to God, that was it. I went training it was before I actually signed for Telford, because I was training with Chester as well before I signed. So in pre-season it was, and I remember going to Bernard and John saying, I feel fucked. I can't go running around and running track today. My back is in bits. I said, I'm not going back. And then I was done one day and never went back. They paid me 70 quid for the day. I got it a few days later and I never went back. It just obviously wasn't for me. And, you know, I'd rather make something of nothing than do something that makes me unhappy. So I'd rather go without and push something to work, or do something that you want to do and make it work. Do your best you can to make it work, and I just have a shot at doing different things, like trying to make that work. If that doesn't work, try and just basically become your own boss. I don't like working for people. You know, I hate the way people are treated. Like, I don't like the way there's this sense of power that you work for me and you do as I say. And it's not that I get, you know, that's the way the world is, but you know, if you're not happy and someone's drilling into you every day that you have to do something you don't want to do, and then you're doing it to the best of your ability, and they ignore you and they speak to you like shit, and you don't get no praise for the work you've done, or no bonuses, on just nothing, and you're getting a minimum wage for doing shit. You know, I'd rather struggle for a few months and push it on. And that's, even though I'm getting paid now, I'm lucky in the sense that I'm getting paid now, and this, like I said, this COVID time, I'm just pushing this skill tech stuff. So I don't know if you see my Instagram, I'm basically like just doing a load of like skill tutorials and stuff like that. And I've called it skill tech, and I'm going to set it up as a coaching when we can go out. I'm getting a website built at the minute. But I've been looking in China, and you know, like, so when you go on Pro Direct and all like the sporting equipment, so like the poles, the cones, and stuff like that, are all branded by certain things. I want to make skill tech into like a sort of a brand and a coaching thing. So it'll take time, but that's what I mean. That's why I'm just doing all these videos and pushing it and create a following at the minute, just so when COVID is finished and we can go back outside, I've got all this interest that people are asking me now, that I can just launch the website and launch stuff and kind of hit the ground running, which is the sense that you're doing with the podcast, like you said now. Yeah, it's just basic. It's literally my Instagram. It's just all my videos. So there's a couple on there from me playing in the past and playing futsal and stuff. But when I was at Liverpool, I had a guy come from Ajax, and Liverpool employed him, and he was a technical skills coach. So he'd come in, and certain players would obviously suited his sort of coaching would go with him, and there'd be one or two of you out on the grass for like 2-3 hours, and it'd be the most basic things ever, but it was all skills. So it'd be like step overs, turns, but it'd be so repetitive all the time, constant repetitive stuff, like turns, the Cruyff turns, and then step overs, and then drags, and all flip flaps, even the stuff you don't really see in games, like only at the highest level, but all ball mastery stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why Ajax have got such a good academy and they're known for technical players, because Liverpool employed him to come over to us, and he was just so like, and ever since I had him, I was like, if I ever go into coaching, that's the sort of stuff I want to do. So obviously this time out, so I've just been uploading skill tricks, like mad skill tricks. Some of them you never do in the game, because you can't do them in the game. But you know, you have to master the ball to do it. So, you know, it's all ball mastery stuff. But obviously mastering the ball will help you in game situations where you control and you touch and all sorts of stuff. So I kind of want to eventually go into that. But because of I've had it for about 10 days, and I've been battering the videos, editing the videos and doing them properly. And I've got like 2,500 followers after 10 days. Wow. So it's kind of like taking off. So that's why I'm thinking, do I make it into a brand and you know, do it like just looking at different things I can focus on. And that's why this time off, I just sit down and every day I can just think of ideas and just jot.
Well, you think after this, mate, there's going to be such a demand for people to have like one-to-one sessions. Why do you go for them?
But that's what I mean. I've had so many requests now, like asking me, like, because the kids are bored in the house, and you know, people are doing coaching and are still doing one-to-one sessions. Like, I've seen it happening. But I think this time for me is just to create so much attention as I can to my branding name and my coaching name, and use my, obviously playing as a professional or whatever, and using that as a big thing which helps with, you know, getting people in, and just doing stuff like that, and battering it in terms of creating it as an awareness. So then when we can go outside, you know, like my Facebook will be one that's at the top when someone types in football page in, because it's had all the clicks and the links and, you know, the website clicks and all that lot. It's building. So that's the sort of thing I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to build everything. So then when I do say, right, I'm doing one-to-one. I'm selling this on my website. I'm doing that. I could have 5,000 people following me, which will click on that website or buy something or want to do the coaching. So I'm kind of set up for it. But then like the futsal situation as well, like, you know, play for England next year and do that and use that as an advantage for my coaching and my one-to-one and my skill set and stuff like that. Because there's you know, the amount of kids that want to learn and play football nowadays is so many, but I feel like they get put into the wrong stuff at the wrong age.
Yeah.
You know, they get put into academy systems at 9 years old and stuff like that, and it's like, you know, there's 50 kids to one team. You're playing once every 2 weeks or whatever, 3 weeks, and better off just playing with your mate's dad's team in a little Sunday, Saturday league team and playing every week and scoring, you know, 5 goals a game or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You don't get that enjoyment. You become a robot. That's it. Exactly. You become a robot, and you get told how to play. The lower you go as well. You get told how. Like the higher you go, obviously, because you're up there because you're so good that you can win the game in your decision making. Like you're a little bit of magic and whip it top wins or whatever. But the lower you go, obviously, you're more robotic as to how a team wants to play. And the managers they seem to be all, I don't say this is a bad thing, but they seem to be a lot more old school, older, and British and Scottish, the lower you go. And when I've had foreign managers, like Rodolfo, when I was at Liverpool at that time, he knew how to speak. He knew individually every player he had, even though it was, you know, he knew each player he had. And Roberto Martinez as well. He knew, like Victor Moses, he was like a bit of an ego at Wigan. And he knew how to get the best out of him because he knew how to speak to him differently to someone else. Yeah. And I just feel like there's more compassion from these foreign managers when you bring them in, especially to players who all have egos and they all want to play and stuff like that. You've just got to be able to manage your players. And I think for some reason, and you understand, like Pep as well, like how can you have Mahrez sitting on the bench and being happy about it, Sane and Jesus and Aguero, how can they be happy? They could go to any team and play every week, you know. But they all want to play for Pep. So he must be doing something to make them feel good about themselves and make them feel wanted. It's when that's how I feel. The lower you go, the managers become more intimidating. You know,
the old British, isn't it? The old DNA.
The gaffer's here. Oh shit, the gaffer's here. That sort of thing. The gaffer's here. Be quiet. Oh, the gaffer's here. Stop messing about. You know, that sort of stuff. Like the power. But at the end of the day, you're all humans. You're all there because you all love football. So why can't you be a friend with the manager? Why can't you be pally with the gaffer? Like, why can't you have a joke with the gaffer? You know, if you know the gaffer and the gaffer knows you, surely that's going to make you not want to let him down on the pitch on a Saturday because you want to fight for him.
It's funny you say that, mate, because I've done the under-12s for 2 years at Vale, and last year I went thinking like I'm the boss, all that. This year I've taken a person-centered approach. So little questions when this 11-year-old walks to training. How's school been? How's your journey? What have you been up to? The returns I've got from him have been fantastic.
But the kids, this is what I mean, the kids, and that's where I fell off. Because whenever I had, do you know, this is going to sound like I'm a little kid here, but do you know the littlest things, like walking out onto the training ground and the gaffer coming up to me and just putting his arm on my shoulder and pulling me to one side, even though I didn't play that weekend or didn't get as much game time as I wanted, him putting his arm around my shoulder saying, just be ready, Dawes, come on, I need you, be ready, being pally about it, being nice about it, made me go into training a total different player rather than feeling shit. Like, and just a little arm on the shoulder, or you walk past him in the corridor and it's like, good morning, Dawes, how are you? You know, how are you, Dawes? They're simple, like, human things, like, how are you? Hello? You know, like, stupid little simple things But them little things like that made me feel like I was
10 foot tall.
unbelievable. Yeah, like, because managers don't speak to players who are not wanted, and that is the problem. When managers don't want a player, not because he's a bad lad, but because he might not be good enough, or he doesn't suit the way he plays, or whichever way, they don't speak to him because they feel that they need to brush him out of the club so they can bring more money in to get someone they want that can play into his style of play.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like the situations I've had when I've been in that position. Like, to be fair to Mickey Mellon, I went into Mickey Mellon when it wasn't working at Tranmere.
Yeah.
And I said, can I go out on loan? Can I go out on loan? He was like, yeah, go and get game time. You need to play those. Like, I know whatever, it's not working out here, but, you need to just go and play games and get back to how you was, get back fit, get back sharp. And that's how he was with me in his room when I spoke to him. But then other places, you don't get that. And a lot of managers do not speak to you. And then that's when you just see yourself go under and under and under and under. And then when your contract finishes, it's like you've got to find something from somewhere to get over that. And I know that's life, but at the same time, why should you have to be made to feel so low to just for someone to? It's crazy. It's hard. They make you feel so low so that you pushed out and you move on. But then they're not realizing the effect that has on you, because if you're committed to a club, for example, I've just signed down south, and I go in there, it don't work out, and I've just moved my family, my kids down there. She's settled in a new school, and this manager doesn't think manager just got sacked. A new manager comes in. He don't like me, pushes me out to the point of I'm not going anywhere, Gaffer, because my kid's there, my family's there. Then it becomes toxic because you're not going anywhere. The owners to the Gaffer, like, why am I paying him a wage and he's not even making the Saturday? Why don't you just get him out? Oh, he won't move. He don't want to go anywhere. So they don't take the life out of like football is football to everyone. Like, it's just football. There's no life around it. So when you're out of that environment, there's just no life around it, and that is the problem, and that is why mental health in football has just gone because people just can't cope with. It's kind of bullying in a sense, it is. If that was anywhere else, you get them done for bullying, but in football you can just get away with it because it happens all the time. It's a thing.
Because people go, that's football. Well, no, it's not.
That's it.
Change it.
That is it. And like you're saying, when you're speaking to the kids, I just love it when I hear things like that, because, like, as kids, like, I always look back now and think the happiest times I had playing football was when no one cared. You wasn't judged. You just told to go and play, enjoy yourself, and that's when you get the best out of people, when you're honest with each other. And when you're not honest with people, like you said, like, working for someone who just fucking don't appreciate the work you're putting in and what you've been through and where you've come from, and then it's just like how can people just be so narrow-minded? And it's all about that at the end of the day. And how can people? It's all about themselves, and that's just a sad world we're living in. It. But
that's society, though. At the minute, everybody's for themselves, and that's where I struggled. That I came from a military background where everybody has got your back, and then suddenly come out to this big bad world, and everybody wants to stab you in the back.
Like, you're left on the front line just to fight yourself, innit? In a sense, and you come back.
No, mate, do you know what, mate? I could talk to you all night, but I'm really conscious it's 10 o'clock and I've taken 2 hours of your time. Just to wrap up the sort of the chat that we've had today, it's been a great insight into your experiences to date. What advice would you give to young players wanting to get a career in the game?
Just be persistent. I just feel like one person's opinion doesn't define a player. You go through the systems, you get told you're not good enough for whatever reasons. That's just one person. There's a million coaches and thousands of clubs. Everywhere there's opportunities in football. And that's one thing I figured out. When you hit rock bottom, don't worry about it. Just be persistent. If you're persistent and believe in yourself that you can turn it around, and you just stick to just playing football and keeping fit, you know, you've got half a chance. But don't ever give up because one person said you're not right for me. You know, that's the biggest thing I can say to any kid growing up. Just don't take it with a pinch of salt and just move on and keep cracking on and just fight it.
That's great advice, and something I'm certainly going to take on board. Look, I really appreciate we've taken up some of your time tonight. And just to finish off, and I'll say the quick fire question round. It never really is quick fire. Football or futsal?
Futsal. Crazy as it sounds, futsal.
Best friend in football?
You know what? I've had that many clubs. I couldn't say I've got a best friend in football. There's people I can speak to still. You know, we're always there. But I think I have my own people around me where I kind of keep them my close people, and you know, I speak to them. But there's a lot of good people, best friends, and stuff like that. But I just have my own group of people. But you know, I have a lot of good friends in football. But I've had that many clubs, I can't tell you who is, because if I look back down the line, I probably remember that person, that he was class and then he was class. So, you know.
Next question then. Toughest opponent?
Oh, toughest opponent. I'm just trying to pop in the camera. I'm trying to think of my toughest. No, the toughest opponent, probably when I was at Wigan and we played United in a reserve game, and they fielded Pogba, Ravel, Jesse Lingard, everyone. And I think I was playing against Fabio's. Remember the twins at United, Fabio, and he was playing one of the full-back sides, and I was playing on the wing against him, and he was just hard as nails. I think he'd definitely be him, definitely him. Can't remember his name. Fabio's brother. Were they both called Fabio?
I can't remember. Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it was his brother. It wasn't the one that played all the time. It was his brother before he got shipped off. But he was hard as nails, and he just kept racking my ankles, and I was just like, get me off. Didn't want to carry on.
Best trainer, hardest worker.
Hardest trainer. Oh. Hardest trainer. It's hard to think. One sec, Carl. This is on your podcast, isn't it? So I'm trying to just. Hardest trainer. Oh. There's been so many busy players though. You know, like the busy players who run round and just run round and run round. Trying to think. Brain's going like good. I'm killing your podcast there because it's taking up so. No. Hardest trainer. You know, if I say, you know, Hamza Chowdhury, you know, he's at Leicester.
Yeah.
Him, I'd say, because obviously it was a while ago, but I remember he was a lot younger than me, and we was training one time, and he'd come up. Some of the under 16s had come up, and we was in the 21s, obviously, so he was a bit younger than me. And this kid with this afro, this big afro, and every time I get it, he's just this 16-year-old racking my ankles. He's running everywhere, and he's tackling me knee high, snapping my ankles. I was fuming. And obviously, he got pushed on and started getting involved with the 23s at 16. But obviously, look at him now. He's obviously that sort of player in the Premier League for Leicester, where he just hacks down the midfield and he's running and running and running. But I remember that when I was 21, thinking I'm the man at Leicester, and then there's a 16-year-old just hacking my ankles, not realising, you know, how it's going to plan out, and he's there and I'm here. So I'd have to say him, because he come up a few times and he was always just hacking people everywhere. So.
Best player you've played with?
Best player I've played with. Does that include training with the first team at Leicester? Or?
Yeah. Any player that you've stood down on the pitch and gone, wow.
It'd have to be either Ravel Morrison. He was, you know, crazy what he used to do, and you know, Anthony Knockaert at Leicester.
Okay.
He was just different level. He always works hard in training as well, to be fair to him, but he was very good in training and obviously in games as well. And Riyad Mahrez as well. So there's been a few.
Some big names there. Best moment in football to date?
Best moment would be, except Bristol, that time I had at Bristol Rovers when we was chasing Barnet. They were top of the league and we was a few points adrift in January, like 10, 12 points adrift. And we just went on a running streak and ended up finishing second. Obviously then, and ended up getting a promotion on my CV because I played over so many games for them. But just that time there, that was my best moment there.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
3 words. Oh, how would I?
This has stumped a few people, to be fair.
Confident. Bit stupid at times. And how do people answer this? Confident. I say confident, not very like clever in terms of like what's the word? Is it intellectually? Like, is that the word?
Yeah.
But I'm good with speaking to people. I know how to do stuff like that. But just like brains on stuff outside of football, I'm not very good up on like house stuff. Just a bit stupid. And then third one, probably a good, just caring person. I'd say like I just want the best for everyone. So I'd probably say don't hate on no one and just want everyone to just do well, really.
Confident, stupid, caring.
Yeah, that's all right, isn't it?
We'll take that. No worries. Is there anybody you would recommend or like to hear on our podcast?
Oh, football coming on. Andy Mangan. You heard Andy Mangan?
Not no, but
he's at Tranmere.
Okay.
He's at Fleetwood with Joey Barton. I think he works in the academy or is part of the coaching staff. The most hilarious man in football you'll ever meet. Yeah, definitely. Mangs.
I'll get in touch with him. Look, I want to say thank you, firstly, for taking the time to speak to us, but second,
no problem.
Speaking so openly and candidly about your experiences. I'm adamant that there's going to be a lot for young players to take from today's chat, and it's great for you that you're in a good place now, mate, and you're safe and well with the family. Obviously, we'll keep in touch.
100%.
For everything that you do, mate, with Skill Tech, I wish you all the best and stay safe.
No, I appreciate it, and honestly, stay in touch. And I needed something like this as well for me to speak to you. So I've really appreciated you letting me come on and speak to yourself about it. So it's been good.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you ever so much.
Top man. Take care. Stay in touch. Take care, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You can follow Adam's new venture on Instagram with the handle @SkillTechCoaching. Ball mastery videos and tutorials will be uploaded for budding ballers to enhance their love of the ball and much more. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the content that we're trying to bring to you. Don't forget, new episodes will be released every Monday. You can find us on the iTunes Store, Spotify, and if you want to see the video, you can see it on our YouTube channel, PCT Football Coaching.